Hello and welcome to 3 Minute Gaming. I'm Nathan, and today I'm going to tell you if this game's worth your time and bandwidth. Today's game is Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Ubisoft's taken forever on that Assassin's Creed game in Japan, so Sucker Punch just showed up and Sucker Punched the whole genre. Is Ghost of Tsushima worth playing? Let's find out. Ghost of Tsushima is an objective-based open-world samurai game in the vein of the Assassin's Creed or other Ubisoft games, but it's a lot better. Let's get into it, and thanks to my boy Hanchan for recommending this one. You play as Jin, samurai extraordinaire, and after a fight with invading Mongols goes horribly wrong, your uncle, the lord of the island, has been captured and it's up to you to gather allies to save him and, after doing that, work with or against him to liberate the island of Tsushima from the Mongol invaders. The story is fairly simple, but it's really improved by two things: the excellent side characters and the absolutely fantastic main villain. Their tales persist across the entirety of the game as their side stories run parallel with the liberation of Tsushima. Speaking of liberation, that is the core game loop: traveling the open world, engaging in various activities, and freeing areas captured by Mongols. These activities range from more complex, like cleaning out villages or sabotaging their supply lines, to more simple, like platforming to a lost shrine, following a fox to pay an offering to the Kitsune, or simply writing a haiku. Tsushima Island isn't as massively sprawling as a lot of other open world games, and this is a good thing as it keeps the activity level dense and traversal fairly quick. It also feeds into one of my favorite mechanics as well, how the game provides its waypoints. In most other games, you'll just get a marker on a compass, but Ghost avoids this by instead using the ever-blowing wind to guide you. Set an objective marker and the wind will blow towards it, which is frankly a brilliant way of letting you intuit which direction to follow while still feeling immersed in the gorgeous world. Speaking of things I love, the combat in this game is absolutely divine. It's a brutal affair where you can either be dishonorable and stealth kill your enemies to start a fight, or challenge them to a standoff. In the latter case, you'll have a small timing minigame where you'll have to hold your attack until they make their strike and counter violently, killing them and possibly some of their friends instantly in the most badass thing I've ever seen. The fighting itself does end up being a bit use the right stance against the right enemy, as there are 4 enemy types and 4 stances. Both you and your enemies will only go down a couple of hits, meaning smart precision and particularly parries can pay huge dividends. You also have a bunch of tools that you can use, such as kunai, bombs, bows and arrows, poison darts, and more, should you think your enemies aren't honorable enough to die by the sword. There's also a ton of gear progression that uses all the loot you find in the world, such as multiple armor sets and various weapons upgrades. And there's a lot more I could talk about in Ghost of Tsushima, but it's going to be too long already. So suffice to say, this is an open world samurai game with some great combat, environment, and world that will really make you want to follow the way of the Bushido. So what do I like about Ghost of Tsushima? Oh man, like I said, I really like this game's combat. The katana feels incredibly powerful. All your attacks and your enemy strikes feel very weighty. And the way enemies scale, they don't just get more life or whatever, they instead learn new moves, meaning combat stays an actively fresh challenge throughout the entirety of the game. Additionally, this might be one of the prettiest games I've ever played. While from a technical standpoint it does show a bit of its age, the artistic vision here of landscapes touched by constant breeze, the variety of the biomes, and every frame feeling like a living painting made me awestruck no matter where I ended up. And finally, I'm going to pull an IGN and say this game really did kind of make me feel like a samurai. Ghost manages to mix quiet, meaningful moments throughout its open world, and then the next moment you're cutting people down in a standoff. It feels absolutely badass and completely encapsulates what playing as a samurai should be. When it comes to the bad, I did find our protagonist Jin a bit dull. He's more of a blank slate than a particularly in-depth character. He is almost completely overshadowed by every other side character. Additionally, some of the side activities are a bit dull. Stuff like bamboo strikes getting pretty boring the 10th time you have to play through them. And lastly, this game's platforming is your basic Sony nonsense. Press X to jump to the glowing thing, and then press X to go to the other glowing thing, which is pretty mindless and made me miss the freeforming climbing from the Assassin's Creed game. As you know, at games here on 3-point scale, must play, maybe consider, and don't bother. And I've been pretty open on these videos how lukewarm I am towards this style of objective-based open world games, but Ghost feels like a complete elevation of the concept and was a game I really loved. It is easily the best samurai game out there, and if you have a PS4 or 5, you should absolutely check this game out. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you played Ghost of Tsushima, either the original or director's cut, please let me know in the comments. Regardless, you should definitely go out there and give it a look.